Namaskar. Welcome to Human Geography edition again. The module we have today is on migration of world population. This has the objective of looking at local, internal and international migration. When we were talking about the races of mankind, we have already seen how in the historical and prehistorical times human beings migrated from the continent of Africa into all other continents. Now we are going to look at internal and international migration as it exists today, as we draw attention to some of the elements of historical migration. Migration, in a sense, is a change in residence. It is relative to origin and destination. There are indeed two places. One is considered origin, the other is considered destination. People move from the origins into destinations. An understanding of migration requires information on the people and the conditions, and also information on the two places, the origin and the destination. It must be remembered that the migration might happen over time, and therefore the two places will be in two different times. There is a start time at the origin and there is an ending time at the destination. A duration of migration is always seen as either permanent, that the migration occurs permanently, that the person's moving out of a place into another place, move permanently, or seasonal or temporary. Sometimes people move from their place of living to other places in search of work for a time. It may be seasonal, it may be temporary. Therefore, duration of migration can be considered as permanent or temporary or seasonal. And of course, people have choices. They have choices as well as constraints. Now, the choice could be that the migration they are involved in may improve their condition of life. And the constraint may be that the leaving of their place of living could be inconvenient. It could even be threatening conditions in certain cases. In either case, a migrant looks at the problems he faces in his place of living, that is the origin, and is also weighing and assessing the problems that exist in the destination he's going to. In the end, his consideration for moving or staying depends on the benefits he may reap. If he thinks it's beneficial to stay back in and proceed with his early life, then he does not migrate. So he considers the place where he lives right now is a place which could give him benefits. But there could be other reasons why he doesn't want to move. There may be some problem that he expects in the place of his destination that he may not want to move. But again, if he or she wants to move and actually migrate, then again they would consider the problems as well as the benefits in the place they are going to. So whether origin or destination, the migrating people have to look at what are the benefits and what are the problems, and they have to weigh the benefits against the problems they want to resolved. Under the types of migration, there are kinds like gross migration and net migration. What is gross migration? Gross migration is one in which the total number of people coming in and out of an area is known. That is the level of population turnover in the process of migration. Whereas the net migration is the difference between in-migration and out-migration. But this difference may have a positive value or a negative value. If this migration results in more people coming in, and as a result of which the population grows in the place of destination, then it would be considered positive. In the case of negative values, if more people are going out of an origin because of certain problems, there may be population decline, and therefore a decline could result in negative value for migrants and for the place of migration. In any case, we have some information on the net migration. This is the difference between the in-migration and the out-migration. If you look across the world and look at specific countries, like for example the United States of America or the North American continent, you find there is a positive value in migration to North America. There is also a positive value in places like Argentina in South America, and much of Western Europe, much of the Middle East, what we call the Gulf countries, Australia, and some parts of Africa, like maybe Ethiopia, Eritrea, Zimbabwe, like Nigeria, or some of the places where there are positive values in migration. But if you take countries like India, Philippines, Pakistan, and even some countries in Africa, and Brazil and other countries in South America, and Middle American countries, you find there is a negative value. There are more people going out of these countries, and therefore there is a decline in population in real terms. So net migration gives us an idea about which countries gain, which countries lose. Now this is sometimes called brain drain. The countries which send people away are the countries that lose the brains. But again, in recent times, there has been another stream called brain gain. Some of the people who went away to America, for example, from India, have come back because the United States of America thought it fit to have BPO, business process outsourcing in India. Now they outsource services in information technology in India, and therefore the companies which worked in America moved into India, and therefore people who went to work in America came back to India, which is a brain gain for India. So we understand now that migration is local when migrations occur seasonally between places within a country, and it could be internal because there is a lot of people who move around in search of work and to stay away. Like for example, people going into Bombay or Mumbai or Calcutta, Delhi, and places like these where they find jobs. International migration is emigration, out-migration. Out-migration is an indicator of economic and or social failures of a society. It involves crossing of a national boundary. It is easier to control and monitor. It has lost control or inhibit these movements. We have what we call the visa, the entry permit into another country, which can be controlled. The entry itself can be controlled. In international migration, between 2 to 3 million people out-migrate every year. Between 1965 and 2000, something like 175 million people have migrated, which is about 3% of the global population today. So there's a large stream of people migrating across the boundaries into various countries. World migration began, as we have seen earlier, not in recent times, but in the historical times. In about 1700, there were indeed lots of global movements, global migratory routes. People from West Europe went into North America, Middle America, and South America. People from Scandinavian and Eastern European countries have also moved into Russia and other areas. People from India in very large numbers moved into Southeast Asia and also to South Africa, and even as far as West Indies. So you have in West Indies, South Africa, and Southeast Asia a population of Indian origin who are now residents as well as citizens of those countries. So a very large stream of people moved about in the historical past, about 300 or 400 years ago. Likewise, major international migrations occurred in the 90s as well. In the 90s, for example, if you take India, a lot of people moved to the Gulf countries in search of jobs because jobs were becoming available because of the oil wealth. And there were also streams of people moving into Australia, into UK. Likewise, a number of people from South America moved through Middle America and into the United States. People from the Far East, like Japan or China, have also moved into America. As you know, there is what we call a Chinatown in most of the developed countries, in USA, in Canada, and in UK, and in Australia. Likewise, you have a lot of Indians living abroad. And the diaspora is the countries in which people of a particular country live in. We have some information on the main destination countries of 1997. Although the data is a bit old, it is still a real kind of data in the sense these countries are necessarily the countries to which a lot of people go even today. And the largest number of people go into the United States of America because the United States of America is perhaps the richest country in the world. Although in recent times they have found it to be difficult because of a slowdown or meltdown. Germany is another country into which a lot of people have gone in. Japan is yet another country. Britain is another country as well. Similarly, Canada and France have been receivers of large streams of people, not just the refugees from civil wars, but also people who were going in search of jobs. So these countries are the main destination countries, and they remain main destination countries today. Likewise, we also have top 10 countries of origin, for example, legal immigrants into United States. During the period 1995 to 2003, a lot of people have gone into United States legally. And the first country from which a large legal immigrant population went into was Mexico. India is the second largest country. Philippines, China or People's Republic of China, El Salvador, Dominican Republic, Vietnam, Colombia, Guatemala, and Russia are some of the countries in the top 10 countries of origin which sent legal immigrants to the United States. Let's get back to the type of migration we call local. We've seen now international migration. It's good to see how do we compare in terms of local migration. In local migration, such as that happening in India, there are no state boundaries. You can cross state boundaries. Sometimes the local migrations are within a state. People might be buying a new house in the same town or city and they move. But it is difficult to research local migrations very clearly because they are usually missed in census data. Based on change of income or lifestyle, we may be able to understand local migration. Often very high levels of local migrations occur within metropolitan cities and million cities. There are also migrations of different types. One type of migration is called voluntary. When we say voluntary, the migrant makes the decision to move voluntarily. In fact, most migration is voluntary. Nobody pushes them to move. They move by themselves because they see a reason to move. It could be for education, or it could be for job. It could be in search of a new place. They want to go away and live in a different place. But there are also involuntary migration. Involuntary migration or essentially forced migration. Forced migrations happen all over the world, even today. Civil wars force a number of people out of their own country as refugees in other countries. India has experience with the refugees from different countries. Most importantly from Bangladesh in the 70s and Sri Lanka in the last 30 years. There was, in the historical past, a particular event called slave trade. There were slaves sent out of Africa. Almost about 11 million Africans were sent as slaves to the Americas between 1519 1867. In 1860, there were close to 4 million slaves in the United States of America. Now slavery is abolished. There is no slave in U.S. and there is no slave anywhere in the world. But it often happens that, especially agricultural labor, are moved to different parts of a country, like ours, where they go as bonded labor. Time to time, we see in the newspapers that people are being released from bonded labor ship. Selective migration are very many. We will look at one or two to understand what selective migration really means. There are gender-specific migration. More often than not, males dominate migrant streams. Often, dominant international migrations are full of males. Men and boys migrate more so than women and girls. Once established in the country of their destination, they try to bring their wives and the family. On the other hand, female domination occurs in rural to urban migrations. Women and girls find jobs as domestic help and in new factories. There are any number of examples across India. If you take Bangalore, for example, there are boys and girls who move into Bangalore to take on jobs. They find jobs in new factories or new firms, new corporate industries. One important part of this migration is that they send what they call remittances. They send money back home. Sometimes it happens women migrate because they marry. Marriage migration or migration after marriage is quite large in any country, more so in India. Once women and girls get married to men and boys, they move into boys' home or men's home. And they move from their place of birth and nativity to the place of birth and nativity of the men and boys they married. There is also migration in relation to education. A lot of people go away in order they go to an educational institution far away. Now, students from India go away to different countries. They go to United Kingdom, they go to Australia, they go to China, Russia, United States America. They go to any number of countries from India. So education is one of the most important aspects of selective migration. Likewise, today, foreign students come to India to make studies in India, to have experience in India. Selective migration is also in migration in search of jobs. It is related to the economic order. It is related to a certain sector of the economy. Most such selective in-migration for jobs are high level. They are filling highly skilled positions in science, technology, and education. If you look at the number of scientists living in America from India, there is a very large contingent of scientists who have gone into United States, and they have preferred United States because of the opportunity US gives them. So we come to brain drain. At the moment, the people with knowledge, or the knowledge labor, or the knowledge power, manpower, is called brain drain. It relates often to educationally specific selective migrations. There is, of course, a receiving country receives highly qualified labor, highly skilled labor, contributing to their economy right away. And therefore, such economies promote brain drain into their country. They encourage people to come in and man their economic sectors. Brain drain has also a country of origin where education and health costs are not paid back. But brain gain is in fact a welcome sign, in the sense that people are coming back, and therefore we are going to have more and more skilled labor in our own country. So to sum up, we have now learned about migration of world population, briefly about the historical migrations and routes, to very detailed fashion migration that occur locally, internally, as well as internationally. We have seen into the forces that may push them away, all the attractions. Job is an attraction, education is an attraction, sometimes even marriage is an attraction. So women go away, men go away to places where they marry. So there is what we call the brain drain, which take away the skilled labor of one country into another, where they promote brain drain from other countries because the skilled labor can man their own economic sector. So we have an understanding of different types of migration across the world and how they happen and what is the size of the streams that go away in international migration. Thank you very much.